What is up, everyone? Happy Tuesday, November 25th. We're going to be looking at the Week 13 waiver wire. If you guys are new to the Fantasy Fellowship, check out thefantasyfellowship.com. That's where you guys can look at the waiver wire for members, $8 a month there if you guys want to check it out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read my waiver wire report. We have no teams on bye this week. I'm going to read the player injuries, and then I'll talk about some of my favorite ads at each position, and then we'll get into your questions. So if you guys do have questions, please fire them up. I will get to them shortly, but let's just dive into this waiver wire report. Injuries to monitor. We have quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield with that left shoulder, spraining his left shoulder, the AC joint sprain. I have him listed as doubtful. We'll find out tomorrow if he's going to be practicing or not. I'm assuming he's not practicing tomorrow with this left shoulder. And again, I'm assuming Baker Mayfield's probably out for this week. We'll see if Teddy Bridgewater gets the start. He might be a super flex play if you need a QB2. Jackson Dart with that concussion. Jameis Winston's been looking really fun. I'm assuming Jackson Dart's going to be able to practice tomorrow. We'll find out more. But I think I have him as probable. I'm expecting Jackson Dart to be a top 10 QB play this week in my rankings. Joe Burrow, they've pretty much confirmed that he's playing on Thursday night, Thanksgiving night against the Ravens. So we're looking forward to that. No T. Higgins, though. I'll get to that in a little bit. Jaden Daniels, they had some reporters talking to him throughout the day. I still don't know if we're going to see him play at any point this season. Their season's kind of lost. Maybe if they steal a game or two, we can see him, but they are kind of talking positively that he might play again at some point this year. So we'll watch for that. I have him as doubtful for this weekend. CJ Stroud, he's been missing the last, I think, 3 games now with that concussion, and Davis Mills has played well. They're not going to rush CJ Stroud back, but I'm thinking he plays this weekend. They have a tough game against the Colts, so we got to see CJ Stroud practicing, but I'm going to say he's on track to playing. It sounds like it's going to be Aaron Rodgers back with the Steelers with that left wrist fracture. JJ McCarthy with the concussion. We'll find out the reports tomorrow if he's going to practice or not. I don't expect him to play. I have JJ McCarthy as doubtful for this one. And then Dylan Gabriel, who did miss last week with the concussion, but they've already kind of named Shedeur Sanders the starter. So that's your quarterback injuries. We don't have a ton of running back injuries. We are watching. We got some big ones on Thursday. We have Josh Jacobs with that knee injury. It sounds like he could have, like if that was a playoff game last week, I think Josh Jacobs would have played through it. But they were able to get him an extra weekend of rest and get him ready for this Lions game. I'm expecting Josh Jacobs to play on Thursday. We have Bucky Irving with that shoulder foot situation going on. I have him as probable. They've been saying that he's expecting to play in week 13. So I think we're excited about that. So some good news, bad news for the Bucs. You know, you're going to maybe lose Baker Mayfield this weekend, but you do get Bucky Irving back. And I think Teddy Bridgewater can at least steer the ship and get this one where they need to go. Running back Alvin Kamara. He's got the knee injury. It's an MCL situation. It sounds like it's just a sprain. I have him listed as doubtful. Devin Neal, we'll talk about him in a sec when I get to the running backs that we're picking up this week. Omarion Hampton for the LA Chargers. They activated his practice window, which is good to see. I think he's got a chance to play this week, but I think it's still 50-50. Again, usually when you get a guy coming back from the practice window, they're going to practice that first week. They're going to miss the game, and then they'll be back the next week. So I think worst case scenario, we see Hampton suit up week 14. They do play. They play the Raiders this week, so they might not really need him, but it wouldn't be a terrible game to get him out there for a few snaps and see what he can do. I'm going to be more relaxed on my Hampton ranking this week if he does play. Running back Isaiah Pacheco for Thursday, got the knee thing. It sounds like he's going to play, which is going to limit the ceiling of a Kareem Hunt, which we saw he had like 30 touches last weekend. So a little bit of a bummer for Kareem Hunt. Fantasy managers, good news for Pacheco managers, I suppose. Running back Trey Benson, sounds like he's going to be potentially playing this weekend. He was practicing all of last week. He didn't play on Sunday. Got a chance to get some more practices in this week and get ready. They need running backs. I think Bam Knight's hurt, who I do have Bam Knight on the list. We'll see about the Cardinals practice reports tomorrow. And then Imari DiMercado with the Cardinals as well. So we got 3 Cardinals backs that we're watching for tomorrow. Receivers. Drake London with that knee situation. We're going to watch and see if he's practicing tomorrow. I'm hoping so. They do need him on offense. I have him listed as questionable. I don't have a strong feeling either way. Would like to see a limited practice in tomorrow if possible. Thursday night football, the Bengals have already ruled out T. Higgins with that concussion. It's just a short week. It's really hard to beat a concussion in 2, 3, 4 days to get ready for that game. Marvin Harrison Jr. with the appendix situation. I think he's going to miss one more game. Cardinals aren't going anywhere this season. I don't see why they would risk him going back out and injuring himself after having some emergency surgery there. Brian Thomas Jr. with the ankle injury, I'm expecting him to play this weekend. They get the Titans, so this would be a good game for him to get warmed up and get ready for some of those big Colts games left. Terry McLaurin, I did see Terry McLaurin practicing on the practice report, so that's good news. He might be playing in week 13. Mike Evans, he's still on IR, I believe, but he's got a chance to get out there. It's probably not going to be this week. I think it's got a good chance for week 14 or 15, but hopefully we get some good reports on Mike Evans this week. Packer receivers, Matthew Golden, shoulder wrist injury. He's been practicing limited here. He's not in our fantasy lineups right now, though. But I'm excited about Jaden Reed, who's got the foot and the shoulder thing. They finally started using him in practice. They lifted his window last week. He's got a good chance to play on Thursday, but I'm not going to play him, I think, just because there's so many mouths to feed there. And I want to see him kind of get ramped up. So I'm probably not going to have Jaden Reed ranked in my top 40 receiver plays. But maybe in week 14 we could. Wide receiver Alec Ayumaner with the hamstring. He missed last week. I don't think we're that interested right now, though. Rashad Bateman with the ankle injury. We'll see if he can go Thursday night. It's a good matchup against the Bengals, but I don't think we're using him in fantasy. And then tight ends here. I'm assuming Sam Laporta's season is over. It sounds like he's got a pretty bad vertebrae in his back, and we might not see him even if they make the playoffs. So bummer for Sam Laporta. Dalton Kincaid's been resting for a few weeks now. We'll see if he can get back with that hamstring situation. Darren Waller, they're activating his practice window with the pec injury. Not super excited to get Waller in my lineup, but maybe if you need a tight end, you need somebody desperately, he could be your guy. And then we're watching Michael Mayer's injury at tight end as well. If you guys need a quarterback this week in your 1 QB leagues, I think Sam Darnold going on, they're in Seattle taking on the Vikings. I think Sam Darnold could unleash some demons against his team last year. Jacoby Brissett at Tampa Bay, he's just been really steady, and he's been just leading the league in passing attempts when he's out there. So I like Brissett quite a bit at Tampa Bay. Aaron Rodgers versus Buffalo, that could be a fun, high-scoring game, and having him back. The Steelers need to get a win on the board here to get their season turned back in the right direction. And then Trevor Lawrence at Tennessee. If he gets Brian Thomas Jr. back, he looks good with Jacoby Myers. He looks good with Brenton Strange back and Parker Washington. I like the weapons that he has. And Lawrence also scrambles for touchdowns every now and then. So those are the quarterbacks that I do like. Super flex guys, yeah, Kirk Cousins, Tyrod Taylor, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. And then I'm going to hold on to Jameis Winston if you could, if you can find a way to hold on to him throughout the week. Alrighty, the top running back ads for the week. It's got to be Devin Neal. We might not see Alvin Kamara maybe for another game or two, and who knows? Maybe they just decide to take it easy with him the rest of the way in kind of a lost season here. So Devin Neal would be the priority ad. I think you got a 2-3 week runway of having at least a running back 2 potential. Otherwise, other running backs on the waiver wire: Chris Rodriguez, lead back for the Commanders. I think Devin Singletary might be out there. And then if anyone dropped, Kareem Hunt, Kenneth Gainwell, Trey Benson, Kyle Monangai, those guys are of interest to me. And then stash plays, keep stashing Sean Tucker, Tajay Spears, Algier, Bashal Tootin, those kind of guys. And then look at other handcuffs. This is officially handcuff season. We saw that with Alvin Kamara last week. Some guys are just one injury away from being the big free agent bid next week. If you need a receiver this week, I'm sure Christian Watson, Trey Tucker, probably already off your waivers, but maybe Jaden Higgins is out there. He looked really good last Thursday, and he's looked good for 3 weeks now. So Higgins would be one of my number 1 ads at the receiver position. Otherwise, Darius Slayton, Parker Washington. I really like Jameer DK for the Titans. He's a really good, fast player. He got the special teams touchdown and the receiving touchdown last week. I think Luther Burden's worth stashing. And then the Jets receivers, John Mechie led the team in receiving fantasy points last week and got a touchdown. And then Adonai Mitchell continues to get a lot of run with them as well. So both Jets receivers are of interest to me. If you need a tight end this weekend, I already mentioned Darren Waller, but Brenton Strange and Colston Loveland would be the top 2 for me. Juwan Johnson, Theo Johnson, kind of the next best man up kind of thing. And then maybe Mike Gesicki on Thursday Night Football if you guys need a tight end there. And then last but not least, if you need a defense for this week, Jacksonville at Tennessee. I trust the Jags to keep that one low scoring and get to Cam Ward. Cam Ward does have the most sacks against quarterback so far this season. The Rams are probably owned, but they're going to be at Carolina. I like that matchup. I like the Patriots versus the Giants. And then a couple other spicy ones here. The Chargers versus the Raiders, and then the Falcons against the Jets. Those would be the ones that I'm looking for. So good evening, everybody. We're going to get into your start sit questions for, I guess you guys can pretty much do whatever because it's a weird week. I still don't know if I'm going to do a live stream tomorrow night. I'm supposed to be traveling back to Green Bay tomorrow night, but we're going to get some weird weather. So I may or may not be driving tomorrow night. So it's kind of a play it by ear situation. But good evening to Harris. Good evening to Frosty. Would you pick up Max Brosmer as a quarterback? I mean, in Superflex, sure. 1 QB, I'm not interested. But in a Superflex league, yeah, let's take a look at it. We're going to be watching JJ McCarthy, who I don't think he's going to play this weekend. Concussion stuff usually takes a little bit of time here, and they kind of want to give him a weekend off. I think it's been pretty brutal for him in the media. So Brosmer, yeah, I'll pick him up in a Superflex league, but I don't know if I want to play him. And Frosty's saying, pick 3, Rico, Jalen Warren, BTJ, Pittman, Odunze. Again, I don't have my weekly rankings done yet. I do those on Wednesday. So for members of the fantasyfellowship.com, I will have rankings up starting tomorrow, maybe tomorrow mid-afternoon, maybe late afternoon. It's just the Thanksgiving weekend, man, or the week, man. It's always a lot of rushing to get stuff done. But I do like Pittman's got a tough matchup. I'm thinking I'm going to play Rome Odunze against the Eagles. And I think I'm going to play the 2 running backs, Rico and Jalen Warren. Both guys, they didn't score a touchdown last weekend. Oh, Jalen did. He didn't get any catches. Rico didn't score the touchdown, but they both were, 11, 12 points. So I think in a full PPR, I'm going to stick with the 2 RBs and probably play Odunze. Again, it's Tuesday night, though. I really haven't sat and looked at my rankings yet, but that's probably where my head's leaning right now. So yeah, with the practice window activated for Amari and Hampton, I am pretty excited because it's a great matchup going against the Raiders. They've really liked what they've had from Vidal. I don't think Vidal's just going to go away completely in Hampton's first game. I'm probably going to have Hampton ranked as like a fringe top 20, top 24 running back in that situation. Probably in a tier with guys like, I don't know, Aaron Jones, Tyrone Tracy, RJ Harvey, Woody Marks, like those kind of names. So it really depends on who we're pairing him up against. I think right now, if we get a report that he's practicing in full, maybe tomorrow or Thursday, that I'm going to like what we got because maybe we don't need to ramp him up. But it is his first practice window week here. So we got to temper expectations just a little bit. I don't see him having a huge week back, even though it is the Raiders. I'm going to go with the Chargers here, Harris. I think they're probably going to be my number 1 defense this week. Maybe my number 2 defense, something like that. But I do feel pretty confident in the Chargers getting the Raiders off a bye. The Raiders are just completely garbage right now. So Chargers for me. Dolphins, I don't know, man. They get the Saints at home. Saints have been, known to be kind of annoying at times, and we just can't really figure it out. Pick 1, Dart, Purdy, Knicks. If Dart plays, I'm probably going to have Dart ranked higher in my weekly rankings. Purdy really didn't look good last night, but he played not great, and he still ended up with a respectable 7 points after throwing 3 interceptions. So I think his floor is probably a little bit higher than we're thinking. I'm going to stick with Jackson Dart, assuming he plays. I do like Bo Nix, though. They're going to get Washington, which feels pretty good. So, man, that's a Sunday night football game, too. Jackson Dart's going to get at New England. I might say Bo Nix here. I'm going to probably rank them as Nix, Dart, Purdy for now, but it's going to be close. I'm probably going to stick with the Houston Texans as a top 5 defense. The Colts offense didn't really light it up last weekend, and maybe we start to see teams really load the box and make Daniel Jones beat them. So I still think the Texans, maybe they're not a top 5 play this week, but I think, they can focus on Jonathan Taylor. They can kind of figure some things out. We haven't had a matchup yet between the Texans and the Colts. But the Texans have been money pretty much every week of the fantasy season. So unless you have like a Chargers team available or some other ideal free agent option, I think the Texans are probably in your lineup. Darnold, Caleb Williams are pretty this week. Still waiting for Daniels to be back. I still don't know if we're going to get Daniels at any point. And even if we do, it's probably not until maybe week 15. I think week 14, we still might be a little bit ahead of ourselves there. So Darnold, Caleb Williams, or Purdy this week. I'm probably going to have Caleb Williams ranked the highest tomorrow in my rankings. Just Purdy traveling to Cleveland worries me a little bit. That's a good defense. I think I'm going to rank them as Caleb, Darnold, Purdy, and then hopefully we can see Jaden Daniels at least a couple more games this season yet. I'm going to go John Mechie here. Mechie has looked good for 2 games now, and I do think Tyrod Taylor lifts the floor a little bit for these Jets receivers. It's not like it's a slam dunk play, but again, we're getting a potential number 1 receiver for a team. He just went 6 for 65 and a touchdown. He's caught touchdowns in 2 straight games. I think it's John Mechie for me. I mean, I get it. Tyler Lockett, he's old, reliable. He's making plays with the Raiders when he wasn't making plays with the Titans all season. But I'm going to go with John Mechie here. I just don't have a ton of trust in that Raiders offense. I don't have a ton of trust in the Jets offense either, but give me John Mechie here, who's starting to catch touchdowns. It's between Hampton, Spears, or Myers at flex if he does play. Okay. Man, Jacoby Myers he's starting to come around with Jacksonville. He's been a guy that I think has gotten the attention of Trevor Lawrence. He's a guy that they're looking for in the red zone. Back-to-back games with double-digit PPR points. To me, I might be comfortable throwing Jacoby Myers out there because he's probably going to catch 4, 5, 6 passes, and they're playing the Titans. You know, I think Myers is the safe play. If you want to have fun and live a little bit, it would be Hampton. But maybe we get some reports, later in the week from Harbaugh saying, yep, Hampton's ready to go. And but if we get any of those reports saying we're going to ease him back in, or we're still going to use Vidal a little bit, I'm probably going to switch to Myers, but it's not Tajay Spears for sure. All righty. Who should I put my first claim in, Neal or Rodriguez? That's a good question. I did put Devin Neal as the poster boy for the video tonight. And man, I was able to pick up Devin Neal in a league or two the last week, just because I did see Alvin Kamara was limited all week with a knee or ankle thing, and now he's got the knee thing. But Devin Neal has been catching passes, which I like a lot. He caught 5 for 43 last week. I think he's got a pretty safe floor in a full PPR league where, if assuming Alvin Kamara is fully out, we're looking at 10 to 15 touches with Devin Neal and probably 2 to 4 catches at least. And I would imagine they don't really mess with the goal line stuff. They give that crap to Taysom Hill. So it comes down to touchdowns for Rodriguez, and I think Neal gets the receptions. I think the receptions are a stickier bet for me. So I'm going to have Neal ranked higher than Rodriguez. And even if it is a 2 to 3 week window, there's a chance where, they're getting Miami, Tampa Bay, Carolina, the Jets, and the Titans. The Saints schedule the rest of the way might be one of the best for fantasy football. No, I'm going to stick with the Texans here. I still will have the Browns probably ranked as a top 10, top 12 D. This one's in Cleveland as well. But that 49ers offense with Christian McCaffrey and Kittle and everything, there's a lot more that could go wrong for the Browns in that game. And the 49ers are just a better team. Whereas the Texans, man, that defense has proven it to us every week that they're a top defense. And I think, if they can get Daniel Jones uncomfortable and take away Jonathan Taylor, Texans should keep that game low scoring. Dalton Kincaid or Mark Andrews. So we've been playing the roller coaster with Mark Andrews all season long, but hey, this is literally the best matchup on paper for Mark Andrews of the season. Getting Cincinnati. Did they play Cincinnati already? No, they play him in a couple weeks, but the Cincinnati Bengals are the clear worst team against opponent tight ends. Last week, they let Hunter Henry go 10 for 1. They let the tight ends in New England go 10 for 154 and a touchdown. Just double-digit galore points. And we've seen some monster tight end performances against the Bengals. Last week, they gave up 31 fantasy points. The week before, they gave up 14, 32, 18, 50 points. Like, they give up a ton of tight end points, upwards of 23 per game. So I think it's Mark Andrews for me. And I'm not quite sure Kincaid plays yet this week. So I think he might be forced to play Andrews. It's not Dawson Knox. It's going to be John Mechie pretty easily for me. Dawson Knox, especially at a flex, is not super exciting. So, I mean, we have a much different dynamic now with Jacksonville. Not only did they trade for Jacoby Myers, but you have a healthy Brenton Strange, and this team wants to run the ball, and they're playing the Titans. So, I do think there's upside for BTJ to have one or two big plays against a bad opponent and be able to make your day. I don't know if there's a huge ceiling with Brian Thomas Jr. this week. I don't see him coming out and getting, 8 to 10 targets like we were hoping for. We have to be realistic here, but the matchup's great. The matchup is really, really good. Assuming I'd like to see some practices in full this week with that ankle injury to make me feel even more confident. I do expect him when he gets out there to be one of the top receivers with Jacoby and Parker, probably the number 3 in that situation. But with his first game back and just the other variables here, there's some big variables. Jacoby Myers, the Brenton Strange, and then just wanting to run the ball a lot against a bad opponent. I think with your options that you showed me earlier, I'm probably going to wait and see, Frosty. Let's see. Superflex PPR. Don't want to chase the last performance, but thoughts on Cam Ward this week versus Jacksonville. Dude, I've kept my eye on Cam Ward pretty much all season. And I noticed it the week before that, hey, like he's starting to put some good throws on tape and make some good decisions. And since the bye week in week 10, he completed 65% of his passes against Houston, 13 fantasy points, and nobody gets 13 fantasy points against Houston. Even Josh Allen was under 10 points. And then Seattle, another what we would have considered a top 10 defense. Cam Ward has his best fantasy day of his career, almost 24 fantasy points, his first career rushing touchdown. I think Cam Ward, I'm not going to have him ranked in my top, 20 quarterbacks, but I think he's right on the fringe in Superflex now. He gets Jacksonville, Cleveland, San Fran, KC, and New Orleans. Not really afraid of any of those defenses besides Cleveland. Maybe Kansas City ruffles him up a little bit. So I do like the remaining schedule for Cam Ward, but I'm pretty excited about what we're seeing here. And he's doing it with still nothing, Chimere DK, the tight ends, the running back duo. If we could get him a legit receiver, I'm surprised why they weren't able to get Tyler. Tyler Lockett's actually looked okay with the Raiders. I don't know if it's just that offense with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith and the chemistry there. I wish they would have found ways to get Tyler Lockett involved like they're doing in Las Vegas. But I'm feeling good about Cam Ward. It would depend on who I'm playing him up against. There's there's no teams on bye this week. So I'm probably going to have Cam Ward ranked right in that mix of like QB 24, 25, 26. So it really depends on who we have to figure out against. So I've been kind of worried about Odunze for a while now, just because it seems like the Bears, they're playing better football, but they're still very inconsistent on the offensive side of the ball. Sometimes it's DeAndre Swift game. Sometimes it's Monungai. Sometimes it's DJ Moore. Sometimes it's the tight ends. I'm going to continue to have Odunze ranked as like a mid to low end wide receiver too. That's like a top 20 receiver ranking for me. He's still making big plays, like huge, yardage catches and things like that. So it's just a matter of time before those touchdowns roll back. And you got to remember, he started off the season hot. He had 5 touchdowns in the first 4 games, and he's only got 1 touchdown in the last 7 or 8 games here. So touchdowns will come back. It is a tougher matchup on paper against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not afraid to play Odunze, but again, we got to hope for 8 to 12 points at this point. And they are the best. I don't know what's the best, but it's the best. Yeah, Odunze, he's kind of been like Cortland Sutton lately, Sutton's been a frustrating guy. You're kind of just hoping for 10 to 12 points at this point. If you wanted to, I'm kind of thinking like, hey, the Bears are 8-3, man. This is a huge game for them to go to Philadelphia, win the game. If they're going to try and win this game, they have to get Odunze going. And I'm just kind of leaning with that angle. Otherwise, I don't hate Michael Pittman Jr., who, he's been pretty consistent all season long. It's a safe play, but I think the upside there is like a 20, 25 point Odunze game. The Lions are the best. I'm going to disagree here. I'm going to disagree with the Lions are the best. Ty Johnson or Jeremy McNichols. Harris is going through it here. I guess give me Ty Johnson. Don't love it, but we're going to go Ty Johnson. And yeah, Cam Ward has. I was looking at the numbers before. In the last 2 weeks, Cam Ward has played his best football. If we need the points, man, we need the points. So that's a philosophical question: is do we want to take the safe Pittman floor? And Pittman's only had what, 1 or 2 games, maybe 3 games below double-digit fantasy points. He's always good for a fair amount of catches. I think only 1 or 2 games where he's had less than 2. So I'm going to take the points here, Michael Pittman Jr., even though it is the Houston Texans. I think he's going to be busy and could be a struggle target. If you want to go for the 25-point boom, that's probably going to be Odunze, but I think taking the points with Pittman is probably way to go. Oh man, a Titans fan. Yeah, and it's not been a good rollout. Coach is gone. It's a lot of struggles in year one, and they really didn't have a good setup to begin with. But hopefully we can find a coach here that's going to help unlock Cam Ward. Hopefully a young offensive mind. I don't want to see them go back to like a defensive minded coach with the upcoming offensive coordinator. I'd like to see someone invested in him, a young, talented head coach, hopefully. And yeah, I did waste some bullets on Calvin Ridley this year too. I had him in a few leagues, and we had the opportunities early in the year. He just couldn't stay healthy. I thought we had something too when he came back. I think it was last week, and then he fractured his leg or whatever. So we'll see. But it's going to be an exciting draft for the Titans this year because they get to focus on receivers and just building the trenches. And they've been a really undisciplined team. I'm just so many penalties and offensive things setting them backwards. So I think the Titans have a fun one to build around with Cam Ward. Yeah, dude, I just pulled up that schedule for the New Orleans Saints, and I don't think the Saints defense is all that good. So like, I'm not going to say go pick up the New Orleans Saints defense, but we have to take note of this run here for the Saints fantasy offense. They're going to get Miami. They're in Miami this weekend. Then they're in Tampa Bay. Not scared of those two Florida defenses. They get Carolina at home, which Carolina can be pesky. The Jets at home, not nervous about the Jets defense at all. And then they get the Titans. So like these are like 5 legit games where the Saints are going to have a chance to win that game. I think we'll see about Tampa Bay and Carolina, but I do think the Saints rest of season outlook looks pretty dang good. They got to stop it with the Taysom Hill stuff. I'm so annoyed with it. Let them run a normal offense. Taysom Hill is like 35 years old. He cannot be getting these carries and these opportunities. So frustrated with that. But I think Tyler Shuck, stash him. If he's available in a super flex league, he should not be. He's going to be a fringe top 25 QB for me the rest of the season. Oh, yeah, Dicker the kicker. You have Fairbairn, though. Fairbairn has been pretty good, pretty money lately. I mean, if I don't do rest of season rankings for kickers, but if I did, I'd probably have Dicker just a little bit higher because I like that Chargers offense just a little bit more from a scoring perspective. But on the opposite end of that, I do like Fairbairn because, one, they're also in a dome, and two, they play like the Texans are a good team. They're going to move the ball. They're going to get it into the other side of the field. And sometimes they stall out, which is good. The Chargers are more converting touchdowns of late, but they move the ball a lot. And I think both guys are probably top 5, top 10 plays. I'm gonna lean Dicker. If you want to put a low end bid on Cameron Dicker, I think that's fine. Let me just look at the Chargers schedule the rest of the way here. They're going to get the Raiders, the Eagles, both home games, at Kansas City, then they get Dallas and Houston. So 4 games indoors the rest of the way. I feel pretty good about that. It's a coin flip. It's truly a coin flip. I'm going to say Dicker. You can put a low bid on him and see what happens, but you can't be mad. You're probably getting 8 to 10 points per game from both of those guys. This one is probably I don't think either guy is going to touch the ball. I mean, unless Josh Jacobs is out one more game here, which it's not leaning that way. Harris, this is a tough one, my guy. I hope this isn't a question where you have to start one of these players. I hope this is more of a pick up one of these players. In that case, I guess I'll go Shipley. If we're just picking a guy up here, I would say Shipley. But there's a real chance that none of these guys even get a touch this weekend. So Gun to my head here. What did Will Shipley do? Shipley hasn't touched the ball in 2 games. I suppose I'll go Chris Brooks. And good evening to Tsunami. Trading Brissett, Higgins, Watson, and Harvey for Mahomes and the Browns defense. And I need to win out. Projected 138 right now. Trading Brissett, Higgins, Watson, and Harvey for Mahomes and the Browns defense. Only Harvey and Brissett are in my current lineup out of these 4. I don't think I'd do this move. Man, that's a lot of meat for Mahomes and the Browns defense. And I don't know if we're adding, like, if we're losing Harvey, I don't know who your next man up at running back is, but I would hope it's someone that you can use. I would need more information here to make an act. This is a big trade. I would need more roster confirmation. Obviously Mahomes to Brissett, that's a huge upgrade for you for Mahomes. I'm assuming that that's either T or Jaden Higgins. I don't really want to lose T Higgins with Joe Burrow, and Christian Watson's been nice. So I do like your depth. We're in a 4-way tie for the 5th and 6th seed, and I need to win out. And I don't really love the Browns defense this weekend against the 49ers. So I'm not sure this is a must-do trade for me, Tsunami, unless you can tell me more about your receivers and running backs. Cody White. I have to look up Cody White for the Seattle Seahawks. Cody White for the Seattle Seahawks? A receiver here? We're not doing Cody White. Yeah, that's my thing too, is Jacoby Brissett, he's been kind of a cheat code. Like, for those people that really needed to pick up a quarterback and they stumbled into Jacoby Brissett, he's been a top 10 QB since he's taken over in Arizona, and he's been throwing the ball a ton. He also gets some rushing opportunities every week here. I don't think I make this trade. I agree with Double Tap, and I'm glad you're there, Double Tap, to kind of back me up on this. Just look at the passing attempts from Brissett the last 3 games. 49 attempts, 57, 44. You're getting Mahomes production here at a discount. So I'm going to pass on that trade. And we'll keep rolling on this Brissett train, man. It's moving pretty nicely. But that's going to do it for me, guys, tonight. We did the Waiver Wire show tonight. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a live stream tomorrow night. I'm going to figure that out, and I'll try and get that posted if I can get it posted tomorrow early. But we'll see what happens. Chris Brooks or Cox, Molly Cox. Harris, you're going to have to I might need some help here on X. You can message me on Twitter, Harris. We'll try and find someone, because it looks like if you're just needing a flex for this weekend, I think we can find somebody. So message me over on X, some screenshots. My other 3 backs are Henry, Gainwell, Spears, and Chase Brown. My receivers left would be Waddle and Jamon leaning. Yeah, I just with Waddle and Jamison Williams, I think you're going to want to keep those Watsons and those Higgins. So Henry, Gainwell, Spears, Chase Brown. I think you're going to start Henry and Chase Brown this weekend. And then I'm probably going to play Waddle. Higgins is out, so I'm probably going to play Christian Watson. And then in the flex, we have a tough call between probably Gainwell and Jamison Williams right now. So that is a tough question. I'm going to probably play Harvey in the flex there. So that's what I would do. But either way, you can always message me on Twitter at @theFellowKGB. If you guys do have start-sit questions, check out thefantasyfellowship.com. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and I'll try and get a video out tomorrow night, and we can answer some start-sit questions and go over the player news. So thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening, guys. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you soon. Peace.